It's late on a cold Saturday night in January in Bristol. A teenager, here at the top of the screen, heads to the house of his friend. He pauses briefly, smiles, and then turns as the two of them head off to get a pizza, according to a relative. At the front, Max Dixon, who is 16. Behind him, Mason Rist, just 15. Two boys who, in a horrifying case of mistaken identity, moments later found themselves desperately trying to flee a chasing group armed with knives. But who didn't make it? Both were stabbed to death within seconds of one another. Today, 4 teenagers and a 45-year-old man were convicted of their murders. Standing next to Mason's mother, Nikki, his uncle spoke of a loving, caring boy forever removed now from the jigsaw of their family.
All I can say is that these animals took away a son, a brother, a nephew, an uncle and a grandchild. And we must now navigate the rest of our lives without our puzzle piece.
Max and Mason have known each other since nursery school. They've always been in the same classes. We often joked it was odd friendship because they were both so different, but they bounced off each other and brought out the best in each other. It's just, I wish we didn't have to be here today, but we've got some sort of justice for our boys. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Against what the court heard was a background of inter-neighbourhood rivalries, this, it said, was the trigger event that night. 3 young men, masked and with machetes, launch an attack on a house in the Hartcliffe area of Bristol. They hurl bricks and stones. Windows are smashed. A woman inside is left bleeding from injuries. Shortly afterwards, this man, Anthony Snook, arrives at the house. Soon he's driving towards Knowle in the southeast of the city. With him now are 4 teenagers, the youngest then just 14, on a joint mission, the court heard, out for revenge.
Hunting is a word I've used throughout this investigation. They left that address in Hartcliffe to go to Knowle and drove around Knowle 2.5 times around the Knowle estate hunting for victims.
And then they spot Max. He's with Mason by the time they've turned the car around. Wrongly, they link the 2 boys to the earlier attack. In fact, they had nothing to do with it. In footage shown to the jury, you can see the car pull up, the group disembark, identities blurred for defendants too young to be named. They're tooled up, jurors heard, with knives and a baseball bat. The flash of a blade, at least one of them, said the police, more like a sword, captured on CCTV, just before the chase begins. Max and Mason split up, but couldn't outrun their pursuers. Max, seen here running round a passing car, has by this point already been stabbed once. Mason suffered 2 knife wounds, one measuring over 20 centimetres deep. Each boy, the court heard, suffered instant, severe blood loss.
You're under arrest for 2 counts of murder now.
Soon after the attack, Anthony Snook, the driver, was arrested. He'd claimed not to have known the teenagers were carrying weapons. He was found guilty of murder. So too, Riley Tolliver, who's now 18 and had been carrying a baseball bat that night. 3 other teenagers, now 15, 16 and 17, were convicted of murder. They can't be identified because of their age.
When Anthony Snook drove the youths that night, he was well aware that they were heavily armed and they were looking for revenge. There could have been no doubt in his mind as to what they intended to do. Today's verdicts serve as a reminder that the carrying of knives and other bladed weapons can only lead to tragedy.
A tragedy further bonding 2 families first brought together by a childhood friendship. Now more children in a British city prepare to be sentenced for their part in the fatal stabbing of 2 others, in this case Mason Rist and Max Dixon. 2 good friends early on in life, merely out on a Saturday night.